Good evening, Patricia.
Good evening, ma'am.
You have a very good smile, so let me have some questions on smiling.
Thank you so much.
Do you like to smile?
Of course I do. I think it lights up my face and puts me at ease as well. So, of course, I like to smile.
When do people smile at others?
It usually happens when you're greeting somebody or when you want to introduce yourself to somebody, or if you just want to make the other person comfortable.
Do you smile when people take pictures of you?
Of course, yes. I think a smile makes me look good. And of course, I want to look good in all the pictures. So definitely, a smile is inevitable whenever I'm posing. But nowadays, rather than smiling, people are more interested in pouting. So I still not have been able to understand that concept.
Can you recognize a fake smile?
Of course, yes. A fake smile is usually, laced with a tinge of sarcasm, and there is also a little bit of strain on the person who's smiling to work up that fake smile.
When was the last time when you saw people smiling?
Well, you gave me a beautiful smile when I came in, so that was pretty encouraging and made me very comfortable.
Can I move on to playing outdoors? Is it important for children to play outdoors?
Absolutely, yes. I think physical activity has to be encouraged, and children have to be allowed to go out and play, which is sadly lacking in many educational institutions these days.
Did you usually play indoors or outdoors?
I was more of the indoor kind of a person. I was more interested in being at home and learning skills related to cooking, reading books, and the like.
How often did you play at your friend's place?
Well, I had a very strict mother, and she wouldn't allow me to go out unchaperoned. So she insisted but she was also a very warm and wonderful host. So she usually arranged play dates for me. She allowed me to have my friends over. So that's how I grew up to also be a wonderful host. So even now I host a lot of parties at home.
Where did you like to play as a child?
I have fond memories of playing in a basketball court that was part of the apartment complex that we lived in, and this court was more of a luxury in those days. So I enjoyed playing with my friends there.
Let's move on to reading. Do you like reading?
I am a voracious reader, and I would simply forget the entire world if you give me a book.
What books do you like to read?
I am particularly fond of thrillers. That's a genre that I really enjoy. In addition to it, I also enjoy reading books on leadership, personality development, developing your emotional intelligence.
What book did you read recently?
Right now I'm reading a book on the principles of leadership, authored by renowned author John Maxwell, who's an expert on leadership and developing leadership strategies and skills.
What did you learn from it?
The most striking feature for me in that book was about a leader's ability to accept or own up to the mistakes that they do, and how doing so would influence the members of the team.
What was your favorite book as a child?
I loved reading Nancy Drew novels authored by Carolyn Keene. In fact, it was about a young teenage detective, a girl who was interested in solving crimes. So that was a very interesting part of my childhood.
Should reading be a compulsory activity for children at school?
Absolutely. I think nowadays schools are doing it. They have book clubs, they encourage reading, they have libraries, and it's a wonderful thing to get a person to read, because that develops their language. It really expands the horizons of their minds. So yes.
Why do parents make children read books at an early age?
Obviously, they want their child to be good in the language, especially now that parents encourage children to read books in English, that there is a definite shift towards understanding that reading is a wonderful way to develop your language skills, develop your linguistic abilities.
Let's move on to part 2. Describe someone who speaks a foreign language well. What language this person speaks? How often they use it? How they use it? How they learned it?
I'm really delighted that you've asked me to speak on this because it brings back a flood of memories about a person whom I met when I was traveling, when I traveled to Europe last summer. I was there in Paris for a business convention, and it was really difficult for me to communicate with the people at the hotel and at the business center because I was not really good in French. French, of course, was my second language at school, and of course, I'd lost touch, so I needed to really brush up. And that was when I happened to make friends with one of the other delegates at the business convention. His name is John Valjean, and as his name suggests, he is a French national, and he was assigned to sit beside me in the convention, and I was simply taken in by his language fluency. His French was amazing. He was also a multilingual person in the sense that he could speak French, he could speak German, he could speak Spanish, and very beautifully in the 5 days that I spent in the convention, he encouraged me to get back to my roots as far as the French language was concerned. He showed me around the city. He helped me understand French culture, cuisine, the Parisian nightlife, and even today we are in touch and we are great friends. And he's one person who's really influenced me and who's encouraged me to continue learning French, and he's a person who's helped me understand the nuances of the language, who helped me see through the intricacies of the way words are being pronounced, because French has the same alphabets as the English language, but the pronunciation can be completely different. So he helped me master those little things that make you a fluent speaker in French.
Now it's part 3, rapid fire questions. Is it popular to learn English in your country?
Of course, yes. Most of the time, learning English is associated with class and sophistication, and though it is not true, most people associate being good in English, being fluent in the language, they mostly associate it with intelligence.
Do you think English will be the mainstream language of the world in the future?
Definitely so, because when people from different languages, from different countries and ethnic groups come together, English has been found to be the common language. And yes, with the increasing focus on English and the popularity of the language that is growing day by day, yes.
When learning a foreign language, which part is easier, speaking or writing?
I guess speaking would be a lot more easier, because when you're writing, then you have to pay a lot of attention to the grammar, rules, etc., which take quite a lot of time for people to master.
Why do people learn foreign languages?
There would be a host of reasons, such as maybe they're looking for a better opportunity. Nowadays, people who have linguistic abilities, who master different languages, who have a flair for languages, they also find better jobs in different countries. So that could be a main reason as well.
Is learning a foreign language important?
In this time and age when we are working with a global workforce, it would make sense for us to master a few foreign languages, and that would hold us in good stead.
Why do some people learn languages so quickly?
I think people generally have, some people, especially when they are young, they have an aptitude for picking up multiple languages.
What are the difficulties of learning new languages?
Well, I don't think the difficulty is with learning the language, but it's about understanding the culture of the language, because then you understand how the language is to be used, the context and the scenario in which a language has to be used. So I think that's the most challenging part of mastering a new language.
What can people do to learn a foreign language?
I think the best option would be to find a good tutor, somebody with whom you can have everyday conversation, because I personally think, in my opinion, that's the best way to develop fluency.
What qualities should a good language teacher have?
Patience. I think that is the single most attribute that anybody seeks in a teacher.
Do you think grammar is so important?
It is important, but I wouldn't really associate developing fluency with mastering grammar.
What do you think of children learning foreign language?
I think it's really good for them. It actually expands the horizons of their mind. It improves an understanding of how the world functions. They understand cultural dynamics better. They're able to understand how people from different groups work.
The closing question: why are some language classes boring?
Well, I would really attribute it to the teacher as well as the learner's interest in the language. So, as long as the teacher is able to come up with innovative methods to keep the student interested, develop lesson plans, I think learning a new language or conducting a language class would be a cakewalk.
Thank you, Patricia.